Welcome to our channel, Behind My Story. Please like, share and subscribe.
I like animals because they live in their own little world with specific rules and laws. It's a well-regulated world, free of biased injustice. Every animal knows its role. For these reasons, I enrolled in a veterinary medicine college to get closer to the animal world and learn more about it. But my love for animals almost got me killed, and I will tell you what happened. I'm Talia, and I'm 19 years old. I'm in my junior year of veterinary medicine. I have loved animals ever since I was a young girl, owing to my dad. Dad was a photographer, and therefore, necessarily a world traveler as well. He would take photos of wild animals all over. Not only that, but he would also study animal behavior, and he wrote many books on the subject. He used to say that animals were cute and lovely, even the predatory ones. If you have ever watched their behavior, you would know how amazing they were. I love all animals, except wolves. Dad died from a wolf attack, so I've avoided anything related to wolves ever since. That is, until one day, destiny put me in a dire situation that forced me to face a wolf. We were on a field trip in a nature reserve, studying the impact of keeping wild animals in different environments. We were studying cubs, young foxes, and young wolves. When we got to the wolf study, I became uneasy. All the young animals were cute except for those horrid wolves. The researchers were feeding them food that differed from their normal diet to observe the impact. My professor picked me among various students to study these small wolves, which was a dilemma for me. I was forced to get involved with the wolf study, but once the professor saw how little I actually knew about the wolves, due to avoiding them all my life, he removed me from the study. To be honest with you, I didn't do my best either. So the professor punished me by sending me to a camp in a rocky area near a forest, along with some of my colleagues, to study more about animal wildlife. What a nightmare that turned out to be. To get there, we had to take a long, tiring bus ride on a long, bumpy road. We pitched our tents and divided ourselves into two shifts, evening and midnight. Some students would sleep, and the others would stand guard in case of danger. That first night, I was in my tent trying to get some sleep, when I heard someone say, "They're getting closer. They're surrounding us." Terror clutched at my heart. I peeked out of my tent to see what was going on. They shouted, "Keep your tent closed. We'll protect you." Suddenly, I heard a loud, terrifying howl. I heard one of my colleagues shout, "Run! Run for your life! They're gonna kill us!" I was shaking in my tent, and I screamed, "Wait for me!" But no one heard. They had run away at lightning speed, leaving me in the camp alone. It was very quiet outside now, with no one around. Maybe the danger had subsided, I thought. So I peeked out a small slit in my tent to see a wolf standing just outside it, staring me in the eyes. His long, sharp fangs clearly visible, with his snarling lips pulled back from his teeth. I knew he could smell me, even without seeing me. Like a trapped animal with its back against the wall, I grabbed a baseball bat in my hand and jumped out, swinging it wildly in his direction. He backed off. I didn't know that he had brought friends. They were standing, lurking in the trees. Of course, wolves were pack animals. I suddenly saw many pairs of glinting yellow eyes in the darkness beyond the campfire. I stepped back against my tent. I saw that one wolf stood in the front. He was obviously the pack leader. I was trembling throughout every fiber of my being. I decided to try slowly reaching for a burning stick from the fireplace to ward them off. That was the moment when the pack leader chose to attack. I blocked his jaws with the bat, but his momentum knocked me down on my back. His snarling, fierce-looking teeth loomed in front of me, separated from my soft, tender, vulnerable face only by a slender wood of that baseball bat. I'm going to die, I thought. He attacked me again, this time injuring my shoulder. They were going to leave scars. Then he backed off and prepared to attack again. His pack watched intently, hungrily, with saliva drooling from their mouths. As I lay there bleeding, Dad's death by wolf attack flashed into my mind and triggered a deep, unexpected outrage that these wolves had taken my dad from me. Courage surged through me, and I made an instant decision to stand up and stand my ground and show these wolves who's boss. The pack leader was circling me, looking for an opening to attack again. I was doing the same, patiently waiting for the right moment. When he lunged at me, I was ready. I swung the bat and hit him hard in the ribs. He went down whining. When the rest of the pack saw this, they all backed up, warily. Their leader got up, unsteady, and turned around, and ran into the woods, with his obedient pack following close behind him. I dropped the bat and fell to my knees. I broke into tears. Yet, I felt an immense relief that I had defeated my enemy and was still alive. When my friends eventually worked up the courage to come back to camp, I told them what had happened. After finishing our field trip and returning to college, I was widely known on campus as the Wolf's Bane. Hi there, I am Matilda, and I'm 24 years old. My story starts just before Thanksgiving, when I decided to visit and spend a few days with my grandparents. Their house was in an old neighborhood, near a graveyard, that people only whispered about in small circles. But I wasn't interested in all the rumors. I liked to visit graveyards, to enjoy their peaceful landscapes and time-honored history. I was always welcome at my grandparents' house. My granny prepared me the chocolate drink I like. Grandpa baked me the biscuits with his magic recipe. We spent all day talking, laughing, and playing. My father was an archaeologist. He was crazy about antiques, so he had a room like a small museum. He collected a lot of things that were rare in that room. We used to sit in this room, and my grandfather would tell me stories about every antique, except for one painting of an old woman. I used to ask him about it, but he never told me what it was. As I was sleeping in the room, which was next to our little museum, I heard whispering. I opened the door and looked around. It was coming from my father's museum. I searched around the room to find out the source of the voice. I couldn't believe it. The eyes and mouth in the old painting were moving, and I heard, "There's danger in the backyard." I ran, frightened, to my grandparents' room. My grandfather asked me what happened, and I told him. I thought he would mock me, but he brought his gun and went quickly to the backyard. He told me if he didn't return within 15 minutes, I should call the police. Suddenly, I heard shots. I thought that something bad happened to my grandfather, but he entered the house and told us that the thieves ran away. They still wouldn't tell me about the painting, but I don't think I needed an explanation anymore. Ever since I was a child, I adored horror movies. Scary stories, old legends and myths. While most kids were into singers and actors and movie posters, I loved vampires, the one-eyed cyclops, everything related to horror and gore. Monster movies, thrillers, the supernatural, the mysterious, and the unexplained. Because these things only happened in movies. Or so I thought. But what if they were to happen in real life? Let me tell you a story where something like this happened in real life. My name is Marlene, and I'm 15 years old. Like I said, unlike the other kids, I loved horror movies, zombies, vampires, and ghosts. The only one who shared my tastes was my brother Stan, an oddly stylish guy with a strange character. Nevertheless, I liked him. There are a lot of scary monsters, of course, but to me, the werewolf was the scariest of them all. A werewolf is an ordinary person who has been bitten by a werewolf, which in turn causes him to become one too. A werewolf looks like you and me, most of the time, but around the time of the full moon, that cursed person will transform into a monster with a taste, or should I say thirst, for human blood. My parents had gone to visit some relatives and stay with them for Christmas holidays, but I stayed home because I wanted to spend that time with my friends. Stan stayed home with me for similar reasons. One night, he came home looking tired, and his hand was bleeding. When I asked him what had happened, he said that some wild dog had attacked him and bit him. I was worried that it might get infected without Mom here to cleanse and bandage it, but he assured me that he was okay. I cleaned it the best I could and put a light bandage around it. The next day was a cold day, but we played outside and had fun together with our friends. At the end of the day, Stan said that he was feeling tired and went straight to his room without saying another word. When I went inside, I could hear him crying in his room, So I went in and asked him if he was okay. Again, he said that he was fine, but I was thinking that maybe the bite on his hand wasn't from a dog, but from some rabid animal. That would have been really bad. Or maybe from a werewolf. That would be even worse. I began to worry and started watching him more closely, just to make sure he was okay. I noticed that he began hiding his hand in his jacket pockets, wearing sunglasses at night, and was always tired. I could tell that something wasn't right. Then, one night, I heard strange sounds coming from his room, so I hurried to him. "Stan, please tell me what's going on. Tell me the truth. What is wrong with you?" I asked. And he said, "Really, I'm okay. I'm just hungry. Do we have any meat?" Meat, I thought, as in bloody meat. Suddenly my imagination started running wild, and I began thinking to myself, oh my God, what if Stan was bitten by a werewolf? I checked the almanac and determined that the full moon was only 3 days away. I was scared out of my mind. What will happen if he changes when I'm here home alone? I felt like I was doomed to be killed by my own brother. I knew that the only way to kill a werewolf was with a silver bullet, or a silver dagger. But, 1, where could I find one of those? And 2, how could I kill my own brother? I must be losing my mind. My parents wouldn't be back for a week. Time passed, and the day of the full moon arrived. I knew I would have to face the person I loved the most in the world besides my parents, and either I would kill him, or he would kill me. It's a lose-lose situation. When my brother came home, he looked so strange. His eyes were darting around like a wolf, and he even smelled like one too. I pretended to be strong, but inside I was trembling, fearful of what this night might bring. I locked myself in my bedroom and waited for this night to pass quickly. I hoped. Then I heard Stan's door open, and I heard his light footsteps coming closer to my door. He knocked and asked if he could come in. Hesitantly, I opened the door. "Hi, Stan. Is there something you need?" I asked, and he said, "I'm so tired." Then I saw his skin turning a grayish color. He was clutching his stomach. The transformation was about to begin. He made a sound like a snarl. Saliva was drooling from his mouth. Fortunately, I was holding a silver kitchen knife. Thank God Mom had some real silverware. She had gotten out for the holiday dinner. I had gone by the church that day and asked the priest to bless a jar of water I brought with me, and I had dipped my silver knife in that blessed holy water just before I had opened the door to confront Stan. I was ready to pounce before he could. "Forgive me, dear brother," I said. Then I pulled the knife back and got ready to thrust it forward to stab him in the stomach. At that instant, Dad suddenly came in through the front door and saw us, saw me with a knife in my hand, ready to run Stan through with it. "Marlene, what are you doing?" he asked. Staring at the knife in my hand, I shouted, "Dad, run! Stan is changing into a werewolf!" Then Stan unexpectedly fell down unconscious, looking very much human. Dad ran over to him and felt his forehead. "He has a fever," he said. "Look at his hand, Dad. He's been bitten by a werewolf," I cried. Dad looked at me as if I was crazy and said, "Nonsense, Marlene. It's just a dog bite." We took Stan to a doctor, who examined him and took some blood samples. He did indeed have rabies, also known as hydrophobia, I learned. I laughed, but then I told myself that this wasn't really funny. I almost convinced myself that my brother was a werewolf. If Dad had come a few seconds later, Stan might very well be dead by now. I was seconds away from murdering my own brother due to a runaway imagination. It's been 2 weeks now, and Stan has finished the shot treatment. He's getting better quickly. What about me, you ask? Well, I've stopped watching horror movies forever. Well, at least till next month.